All right, we're going to resume the meeting now, and stated the next item on the agenda is public safety issues, and Chief Baker is going to address us on this subject. Yes, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. Several items I'll move through them quick. Revisiting an issue from last week or last meeting on the records. As stated, I was a little concerned about the process of how the records were selected. Since that discussion, search of the city records has revealed that we do have one record service license to operate within the Port of Lake Park, and that is Mr. Dorman.
Mr.
Dorman.
Larry?
Yes.
Okay.
So that is the answer to that question.
Is he the current person that we're doing business with?
Yes, ma'am. He's the one that traditionally they've used, and as I said, I was unaware what process was used in that, or competitive, so they were
So we've had any problems with it, Mr. Dorman?
No, I'm not sure. Okay.
So everything's legal with it?
Yes.
I move we continue to do business.
I second.
We have Chief Baker is
Same
told
record
us about
service.
the record service, and Member Whitfield made a motion that we go and we continue to do business with, is it Dormany?
Yes, sir. Larry Dorman. Now, he runs his business. I believe he pulls a license that he has is for Dormany's record service.
By Dormany's record service.
But he also runs a garage service that's licensed out there.
We have a motion from Member Whitfield to hire or recognize Dormany Record Service as the city record service. We have a second from Member Lane. Any discussion? All those in favor? It's all agreed. I did have some discussion, and my comment on that was a lot easier than hiring a dedicated. No, that was a lot easier than getting someone recognized as a surveyor and engineer. All right, next item, Mr. Baker.
All right, sir. I believe if you look at your council package, you'll see USA Software. This is a little bit of housekeeping on my part. I was contacted by this company. This is currently the software that we're using to generate police reports. And as part of that package, the city has been paying a maintenance fee per annum of $1,331.17. That payment was due on October the 4th of 2011. So they had contacted me about being, quote, in the rears.
October when?
The 4th of 2011.
I think it's over here.
So I told them that I was really unaware of what the stipulations and so forth on this particular agreement was, and I would put it before the mayor council in my first opportunity.
What was the figure again, 1331 what?
Yes, sir. I actually have an invoice on my copy. It's $1,331.17, but I don't think that was contained within y'all's package.
What is that for?
That is the maintenance fee on the software program itself. If we upgrade, for example, if we go to a higher level of Windows, or we change operating systems, or if there's any upgrades to their software, we will obtain that as part of that agreement.
I'd like to make a motion that we pay the $1,331.17 and renew the whatever it is for another year or so.
That would be the maintenance agreement.
Is it 1 year?
Yes, and of course, it would run through October of this coming year.
So we'll pay 1331 will be good to October of
This
well,
year. The contract is for 1 calendar year from that due date.
We have a motion by Member Sherrill and a second by Member Lane to it. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Moss, to continue on with USA Software and pay the annual fee of 13. How much?
31. 17.
1331.17 Any discussion?
Can I make one inquiry?
Yes, sir.
Chief, have we had any problems with this company or not?
No, sir, this software, as I understand it, has been in existence here at Lake Fork for at least 5 years, I think. And as far as I know, there have been no issues with it, so.
When did you get that bill?
I became aware of this about a month ago.
Okay.
And, say, the lady sent me an invoice.
They contacted you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And, so in return, I contacted them back, and she sent me this package, kind of basically telling me what it was and so forth.
Hey, Tim, have you looked on that system we got and see?
I
It will do incident reports, everything, I'm pretty sure that USA, and it don't cost us a dime. I mean, I will look at it, and then
Well,
if you want to.
I went on there, after receiving this bill, because I thought that system had that capability. Now, we're talking about the court tracking system that,
Well, I knew you do incident reports and all that on that, and I didn't even know that until we looked at it the other day.
I looked on there as I was reviewing this, and I did not see that capability on there. I don't know if that's a module maybe we could add, or just.
Or we could talk to my vendor and if they could add it without costing us.
Put a notice out to our water customers stating that in the months of January and February, that we failed to do the required testing to the water system. And that is a notice that's required by the Environmental Protection Agency and the water governing bodies. And there is not a problem with the water, but during 3 years. That test was due in last year, 2011. The prior administration did not perform that test. So in the process of communicating with them over that and looking at the testing and the regiments of testing, we discovered that we had not complied for the months of January to February with the bacterium testing, and that the heavy metals, copper and lead testing was not complied within the last 3 years as required. Now they have given us a grace period on that. We have the sampling materials ordered to do the lead and copper testing, and as soon as it arrives, we'll turn it around, and that will put us back in compliance with those issues.
Notification of what?
On the lead and copper, no, we won't require on that, because our inquiry was timely enough that it was not falling outside of the grace period. It was due in the year 2011.
Mr. Mayor, may I speak?
We have citizens to be heard, but yes, you can speak.
With the dismissal of our chief, Brown, wasn't the council assured that the county would be covering the months until there was a new water certified personnel in the city? So what happened?
Thank you for your question. I'm not going to get into question and answer here, but I understand what you said. And yes, and the county has been helping us. And we've had one other notification we had to send out.
And why we failed?
We had one other notification we had to send out previously concerning water testing that happened in 2011. And we've got a lead and copper issue that was since 2008.
This is January and February of this year.
I understand that, sir, and you're exactly correct. And he's making a public statement about it, and it's going out in the water bills about it, and we're in compliance right now.
Well, not quite, we still have to wait on that. Don't we have to wait on that?
On
To do the
the heavy metals, the copper and lead. Yes, sir. The EPA sends you a testing kit, and they advised they had sent one within that standard 3-year period. And of course, I have no knowledge of that or what became of it or how it was handled.
But you have another one.
Yes, so we do have one in back.
Yes.
And
We'll be in compliance once we do that.
and
They've actually got us in compliance on lead and copper because they've extended us a grace period, I think, until June to supply those, and they've got that testing kit on the way to us.
yes, sir. And as soon as we turn that around and get back to them, we will secure that, and we will not have to do on that since we thought it was that.
Chief Baker.
Yes, sir.
Could you put on your to-do list and develop us a set of procedures where that will not happen again?
Yes, sir, and as I mentioned, that was part of My problem with that, now, I was not specifically assigned the task of looking over that water system, but I did attend the water operators class, and of course, I learned a great deal about water I had no knowledge of before. And so part of what I've been doing is trying to get those guidelines and timelines in place. Mr. Bob has been sampling water the whole time, and he does basically a sample that tells us the chlorine is in the water and tells us what the pH of the water is. That's done on basically a daily basis, and then once a month we're required to do the bacteria test. And so we will be publishing calendars internally for guidelines on when to accomplish those tests. So I'm just doing a little housekeeping behind it. But this is to make council aware of what that
Cheryl has
situation was.
questions.
Ms. Cheryl, do you have a question for the chief?
Yeah, so am I to understand that you're now the supervisor over the water department?
Well, Ms. Cheryl, I don't know if I'm supervisor over the water department, but by default, nobody else was doing it, so I had to do it.
Are you water certified?
So do you have enough?
No, sir. Neither was anybody else here, apparently. So I'm just pitching.
Another question, please. So, based on everything that you have on your plate, and it appears it's great, are you able to take on another task and do another job that, I'm not sure that, I'm kind of struggling here that we just keep putting things over in that group, and is there adequate time in your day to do that, and what happens if you're out of town?
Well,
Are you sick? Are you?
Ms. Cheryl, I understand your concerns, but as I say, I don't think it was anyone's intention here within this organization to put that responsibility on me. I just got that by default because the gentleman who was supposed to be doing it apparently did not keep adequate records, or it was not accomplished.
And who are you talking about, someone this year or previous?
Well, both.
So who was supposed to be doing it that didn't do it this year?
Well, I really prefer not to announce that in a public forum. I'll be glad to discuss it individually or with counseling, because that's more of a personnel issue.
What happened to Alan Leonard?
Mr. Schindler, you're out of order. Any other discussion about the water?
No, sir, that's all it is.
Did you have any other, any topics you want to bring up on the public safety issue?
Yes, sir. Two more things, and I'll move quickly as I can. Another one is I'd like to revisit the part-time employee. I would like to get a part-time employee in place, not necessarily, as I say, as a salary position, but to get somebody in just in case one of our officers has an illness, or goes off to a class, or attends a school, or does something that would require, as you know, there's only 3 of us, and we're trying to cover a 24-hour schedule. So that would give us a little more flexibility, and, if you will, sending in a pitch hitter when we need it.
Tim, I would like to make a motion that you be allowed to contact Burt Rutland, the former police chief. He's unencumbered, he could use the money. He knows the citizens, he knows the ordinances, he lives across the street, and he could be available at the last minute and report back to the council.
Ms. Cheryl, I understand that motion, and not to try to sway your motion, but with his pension and his POAG, he cannot draw that water to you.
I'd still like for us to approach him about it and see if he's willing to do it, because based on what you're saying, it's a minimal amount of time. And it certainly would give someone in the city of Lake Park who has vast knowledge about the city and about law enforcement that you get along with and you could work with. I would like to entertain the motion.
And as I say, ma'am, I'll leave that with y'all, but it misses pension.
We have a motion by member Cheryl for Chief Baker to hire.
It's not higher.
Well, what was it?
Contract out.
Basically establish.
Is that hire or contract?
Establish a part-time officer As you know, it would simply be like having a reserve officer. You just get them listed on your workman's comp. You would establish an employee ID number, list them on your insurance.
What's another term, another?
I like established, I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
And he is certified, so.
Yes, and that would just give you the ability, if we did have some sort of problem,
Would you be paying
not unless it was working.
to establish a,
Standby service.
standby service by former Chief Burlock?
And again, in my way of explanation to the council, I kind of saw that when I went off to the 60-hour school that was mandated by state legislature. It was kind of tough for our two guys to cover that schedule, so it would have been a lot easier.
We have a motion. We have a second by Member Whitfield. Any discussion? I have some questions, not concerning Rutland. I have some questions concerning your talking about hiring a part-time. Would you hire part-time, does that fall within your budget?
Well, we would keep it within our budget guidelines.
Whatever you paid them would be within your budget
Yes,
guidelines.
and we have a little slush in there, not a terrible much.
But you can manage that within your budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor of Ms. Cheryl's motion for Chief Baker to establish Chief Rutland as to serve as a reserve, is it reserve or part-time or just reserve?
This is a standby basis, both.
As Lake Park Police. All those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? In favor, members Whitfield and Sherrill opposed, members Lane and Moss, 2-2 tie. Mayor opposed to the motion. For Mr. Rutland. Mr. Spano, you've already been heard of the citizens to be heard, sir.
All right, sir.
You want to readdress anything else on part-time?
Yes, sir. Well, on part-time, just as I say, I just want to establish a position. I'm really not too terribly concerned about who, just as long as somebody we tap out.
Did you have anyone in mind?
Well, I primarily was thinking about, again, as for my last suggestion, Derek McLeod, who is a full-time deputy with Lowndes County, but they work the same schedule these gentlemen do. They work 2 on, 3 off, so forth. Just that.
There's a Lowndes County deputy who's going to be moving into Lake Park at the end of the month. He's moving next door to me, Deputy Bannister.
Yeah.
Might be.
So, you know, there's several out there that we could probably integrate.
So you're basically asking to find you a part-time police officer for you to hire, and you don't have a name tag with it right now.
Exactly. Just
As they're available, if it's the one you mentioned before, or if it's what Mr. Kinsey said about if one moves into the area.
Yes, or anybody in the local area that, you know, would just be interested in doing.
Any of the council,
Mr. Mayor,
yes, Mr. Lane?
I'd like to make a motion, trying to figure out how to word it, to establish that position, not necessarily name someone to it, but to establish the ability for the chief, as he needs someone to fill in, that if he had a pool, whether it be one of the deputies or Bert or whomever it could be, but anyway, make a motion that we establish this, what's the terminology you're using for the position?
Just a part-time position.
Establish a part-time position in Cruz Park.
We have member Lane has made a motion on the floor to allow Chief Baker to establish a part-time position within the Lake Park Police Department. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Whitfield.
I do like the idea of of establishing an open-ended position. That could come back to bite you.
Any further discussion?
Money-wise, liability-wise, etc.
Tell you where I'm confused, the deputies make $25 to $30 when they work extra. So I'm really struggling to understand how we think we can bring them into Lake Park and pay them $10 and 25 cents an hour to patrol and be a part of our police force on a fill-in basis. And they all do work and they do have full-time jobs. So I'm not sure that this is the right thing to do.
They definitely would not be unencumbered, because if the sheriff called,
That's right.
they gonna go.
And again, the money that they make.
Yeah.
$25, $30 an hour, that's a stretch.
My discussion on that is you have criteria for police officers.
Oh, yes, sir.
You have established guidelines, you have criteria that they have to meet. You understand the budget. And you do feel like there's a pool of prospects out there that you might talk with about doing some part-time work for the city?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hold on, it's my motion. I see the wisdom in what Whitfield's saying. We do need people to come by this council and not just hand out a card to go grab somebody. I'd like to amend that motion to actually name Derek McLeod in that position. To establish that position with Derek McLeod as the part-time officer to be held within the budget constraints that are already in place.
We have a motion to amend the first motion to state that the part-time police officer that we'd be, that we'd move on for police chief to hire part-time would be Derek McLeod. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you have a comment?
Well, I was just going, I understood what Mr. Lane said about actually naming a person. And I was just going to point out that that was not full-time employment, so, you know, it does come under just a little bit of a different purview than full-time employment. So, but, yeah, name the person.
So I guess we have an amendment to the motion. Well, first, for the amendment to the motion.
We don't have to vote on the amendment. I
We don't.
made the amendment.
All right, somebody have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask questions before I consider a second, but is that how we?
I think you have to have a second, open it up for
And then we have
Open up for
discussion.
And then you could, if further amendments are needed, you can ask the movement to further amend.
Okay. For discussion's sake, I'll second that.
We have a second.
Here's.
Discussion.
Thank you.
Ms. Moss.
Alright. In my mind, when I think about putting someone on payroll, whether it's full-time, part-time, standby, I think about an interview process or, you know, something like that. What do our personnel policies say about just hiring someone? Do they have, in this type of position, do they need to go through that interview process? Do they need to be approved by the city council? These are questions that I have because I'm just not clear on it. So if anybody has any wisdom to that, I would like to know.
My understanding is that any employee has to be approved by the city council.
Any further discussion?
And that's kind of, again, why I'm asking for the position. In other words, if, say, David went out with a long-term disability, he can break an ankle or something, and he was going to be out for 3 months, then we would have to bring that whole issue back before y'all to try to hire somebody to fill that position part-time until we could get him back on the job. And I'm just trying to kind of get the cart ahead of the horse. where if we did have some sort of an incident or school or whatever that arose that required somebody to help us fill hours, we'd have somebody already on the roster who could just tap out and use it that time.
So this is the names or numbers?
The amendment of the name.
I think you need to approve the employee who's been selected for this position.
Okay. All right, the discussion up here, just for everybody, is that the charter does allow the chief of police to have the authority with the approval of the city council to appoint police officers and/or special deputies for the preservation of peace and order and the enforcement of the laws, national, state, and local. According to the attorney, we need to name that person. Okay. That's second.
And your amendment, and you got a second, Derek McLeod. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion for Police Chief Baker to have Derek McLeod, approve Derek McLeod as a part-time police officer from Lake Park. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 2-2 tie. Mayor approves motion for Derek McLeod. Any other issues on public safety?
Yes, sir, I have two more, and again, I'll be brief on just for council awareness. Two of our members of our fire department, Kevin and Tyler, have asked me to approve school for them in Forsyth this weekend. If those are approved by the school on that end, which I don't see why they wouldn't be, they're going up for a 2-day intensive training class up there at the Fire Academy, which is something they do on a regular basis up there. They kind of concentrate, and it's mostly for the volunteers. They take the weekend and go up and get a lot of training over the weekend versus having to take off every week to go. So we're going to submit the applications for that tomorrow, just make y'all aware of that. The city should not incur any cost on that whatsoever. That is funded by the state. It's merely approved by me for them to do. And finally, lastly on my list is the issues with the Explorers. I think we tabled a lot of that last meeting in the interest of time, and again, we're running late again tonight, but
I got a few more things to get to.
Yes, sir, I'll move through fairly quickly. Now, I basically had 11 key issues from our discussion last week, and so I went through and tried to, as I could, answer those issues as best I could. And so, with the ride-along policy, and that was specifically with the intern that was riding with me, I was asked to check ride-along policies of surrounding agencies, and essentially they haven't. It's on an ad hoc basis. City of Valdosta allows 911 system to ride with them. They allow Leadership Lounge to ride with them, and they allow their police academy to ride with them. But they do not have a policy to address that. Lounge, same issue, they just don't have a policy. It's more or less ad hoc. So that basically was that. Based on our discussions and the concerns brought up, again, Kyle was in there with full knowledge, and we had a waiver from Mr. Plum to deal with the liabilities on that internship. Because of the concerns, we ceased that function. So Kyle has not rode since that day.
Can I ask a question? What intern program is Kyle in?
He is in a program through the high school. And what class was that, Kyle, that you were doing all that through? Was it DCT?
CTI.
CTI. It's one of the recognized school programs where they intern. And Kyle has shared time on that between me and Lowndes Junior High School with Deputy Kim Wheeler there. So that was basically the intern program he was in. That was issue number one. Number two was on the fire truck, people who ride on the fire truck. One of the things that was put forward was they wanted to basically have a motion that only certified firemen could ride on the truck. Well, the policy of this city and most every other fire department in this area, except for paid professional fire departments, is that non-certified personnel that are members of the department can riding on those trucks. As far as the Explorer post and their group riding on the truck, they are not supposed to be on the truck when it's in an emergency response mode. That would be with the lights and the sirens on. Okay. They have been made aware of that, and as far as I know, this group has not had any issues with that. Now, there was an incident brought up under citizens' concern about going to a car fire on the interstate. Just bottom line is, again, there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of people that don't understand how fire groups operate, that are trying to, if you will, armchair quarterback some of this stuff. We were called, that particular incident, we were called out on the interstate by the Twin Lakes Fire Department for water support. We did not go there to fight a fire. The truck was driven out there to give water to their truck so that they could continue with the issue they were dealing with. And that was probably the incident that, in my mind, identified that our trucks were inadequate for what we're trying to do. Because we went out there with our little 500 gallons of water, and it was about a joke. I mean, it just really did not give them what they needed. So that's when I really began looking at how we could shut those small capacity trucks and get back into the more rural firefighting truck. As far as non-certified riding in the truck, as I say, it's been established capacity. Chief Brown had non-certified members riding in those trucks regularly. And as far as I know, every chief at this city has done that. But as usage is customs, that is policy of the city. On the driver's license, that was an issue that was brought up about EML. I do not have a definitive answer on that. I have talked to 5 different fire chiefs. I have looked in all of the law books in my possession under commercial driver's license and classes, and I could find absolutely, I have searched the internet, and I can find absolutely no reference to the EML driver's license. Could somebody please tell me where that term's from?
It's not an EMF, it's an EMF classification driver's license, which drivers of the fire truck are required to have, and they have to be certified. And I can't remember off the top of my head if it's 3,000 miles or 5,000 miles of road miles that they have to have. And there's some other requirement, and then there has to be an affidavit saying that they're certified to be on the fire truck.
My only answer to that is, as stated earlier, the fire department's volunteers are exempted from those requirements.
That's not what the state said, so.
Now, my understanding is that there have been some bills put forward, and it is my intention to follow up with Mr. Ellis and some of our other legislators, because it may have come out in 2012. But right now, there is not, in any of the code books that I've looked at, and I've done a lot of research into the CDLs and the requirements. If I'm a paid fireman, and I work for Valdosta, City of Atlanta, whoever, and I drive a fire truck, then I must have a CDL because I am being paid to make my living driving. I'm commercial, just like an airline pilot. Anything commercial for hire makes you commercial. And then they have classes on weights and those sorts of things. My understanding is that there is in the legislature a motion by certain members to bring the heavier trucks and any truck that has air brakes on it into what they call a Class B license. But as far as I know, that has not been approved or passed by the
This
state.
isn't Class B, it's Class C. It's a separate classification, and then the state of Georgia gave that.
Yeah, I was going to say, was that state of Georgia? I will further research that. If it's out there, it's not well known, because I've talked to, like I said, at least 5 different fire chiefs and major agencies, and they haven't done anything.
Do you have that information available?
Yeah, you pick up the phone and call the state patrol and they'll get it to us. Just one phone call. Sure, and then I verified it.
I will look further into that. issue with Kyle riding with David on the intern program. I spoke with David. Kyle asked me if it would be possible for him to ride with David. My answer to Kyle was, I don't have a problem with it as long as David didn't have a problem. Kyle went and asked David about it. David came to me and basically said it's just fine with me if Kyle wants to ride it. I then outlined the, if you will, the trolls on Kyle riding with someone, the fact that he could not be in the vehicle if they were running code 3, and code 3 being emergency status, lights and sirens. So, as far as I know, the only time that did occur was with one incident with David and Kyle, and that was in the early evening hours when it was still daylight. And of course, since we discussed the issue, he has not rode with him. Access to the fire department, unsupervised, my understanding is it does not happen. Now, Tyler, raise your hand please. Thank you. Tyler is the coordinator for this group. Now, the law enforcement group that's in the back, I am the quote advisor for that group. That group that came up tonight, and basically they were here at Member Moss's request that the explorers come up and speak with y'all about their programs and what they do. And I'm extremely proud of them. 3 years ago, none of them would even get up and say their name. And I think they all did an exemplary job tonight. So thank y'all for that support and your input. As I say, I am their advisor. Their institutional head is Chris Prime. This group, Tyler is the advisor. I am the institutional head.
How old is Tyler?
He is 19 years old. Tyler was signed into that position by Linda Miller, who is the professional for the Scouts. Now, there was a little misinformation going in earlier tonight. In the Scouting world, you can be an adult member at the age of 18. Now, when you see the 21s pop in there, 21 primarily is for transporting a group of Scouts on a trip or a venture. If I file what they call a tour permit or a travel permit to say drive this group to Macon, Georgia to go to the police department or the fire department, the drivers of those vehicles have to be 21 years old. And, Tyler is the advisor. He is the immediate supervisor, if you will, the scoutmaster of this group. Tyler is a certified fireman. He was a member of the Lake Park Fire Department under the last administration. He does training out at VOTEC and does live burn fire training with them. Tyler is a very knowledgeable individual. He's a young man, but he's been in the fire business for quite a while. So he assures me that this group does not have the code to the door. And as an example of that, he and Kevin, this gentleman sitting right next to him here, who's also 19, who is also a member of the fire department, they had a meeting called at the fire department, and they were sitting there, and it was like past time, and so they went out and looked outside while all the group was sitting outside. They were like, oh, we didn't know y'all were in there. So they were sitting outside waiting for them to get there to unlock the building. So by way of demonstration, they assure me that the gentlemen do not, the explorers themselves do not have the access code, only the members. And usually when you see them down there, Tyler or Kevin Warren have opened those doors or opened the bays, and they're usually around there somewhere. They'll be close at me most of the time. Training in the street was one of the concerns. We do a lot of training, and I let the explorers be involved in that. If I'm there, Tyler kind of oversees them, and I just give them general directions. I like for them to have some hands-on experience. The street that's adjacent to the fire building in Old City Hall, it has no driveways coming into it. It runs from 41 Highway to Cotton Avenue. It's adjacent to the Salmon Garage property. There's a fire hydrant on the corner. They will go out there a lot of times, we'll do nozzle drills or we'll do put hose lays or do some sort of pumping operation, we'll spot a truck there on that street next to that hydrant, and next to the hydrant, we'll put cones out and block the street on it. And they will basically do water pumping operations and nozzle operations or that sort of thing. So when you hear that they're training in the street, that's the street they're talking to. It's not really a through street, it's just a connector, and it doesn't have any residences on it whatsoever. Trash at the station, I'll let Kevin answer that. We discussed that at length. You want to answer that, Kevin, real quickly?
Yeah, I always come out there maybe once, twice a week. I will clean, I pick up every bit of trash, sweep the floors, updo the dishes. I make sure that place stays well kept. And that's what I do whenever I have free time.
Okay. So I'll just let Kevin answer that one. On the hydrant testing, and again, this is one of the points of misinformation. Now, again, under the Fire Explorer program, the Explorers can, and if you look in your packets, I think we got them in there, you'll see this particular sheet right here. Now, this is a guideline from the National Boy Scouts of America Learning for Life, which is the Explorer program. And you'll see, in there, you'll see some bullet dots, and there's some written information at the top. I'll quickly read these bullet dots. Explorers must not be substituted for trained personnel. That means I cannot take a dispatcher or an engine driver and say, hey, you know, you take the rest of the afternoon off, you fill in for it. That's basically what it means. Explorers must be equipped with personal protective equipment that is appropriate for the activity being done. The young man that got up and addressed you during Citizens to Be Heard, he's a scuba diver. He knows all about equipment and safety. He mentioned PPEs, and that's what he was referring to. They had the appropriate personal protection equipment. Most of this group, their biggest concern besides thermal, which is not really a concern because we're not going to let them get in a live burn, is the PPE, and that's going back to bloodborne pathogens. Of course, I know many of y'all know about that, but that's primarily where somebody's bleeding, and you can get hepatitis, some of the other bloodborne stuff. So that's basically what they're talking about there. Explorers can be mobilized only as a post, which means that they basically have to work as a unit. The day they were checking hydrants, they were working as a unit. You had the advisor operating the truck. He's a member of the fire department. He went through individual training at that department to be authorized to operate that vehicle. He had 5 Explorers with him. 2 of them were 18. The other 2 were less than that. There were more Explorers on the scene because some of them drove their personal vehicles and met them, had each type followed them on. They were wearing appropriate protective equipment. They had a reflective vest on, and that is a service function. And that's why I'm reading you this list now. Explorers who ride on the apparatus or other vehicles.
Do we have any problem with the last sentence in that one you just read?
Explorers not on call as individuals?
Correct.
Yes, sir. They are not on call as individuals. They do not have individual pagers, or they are not on a call system to be called to a fire. If they respond to a fire, it's because they either heard it through a scanner or through a family member that had a radio or some sort of thing as that, or as you know, young folks, they got those text messages going all the time, so they know more about what goes on in this town than most any of us. The Explorers, as they ride on department vehicles, are in an apparatus, and again, they're referring to pumpers and equipment there. They must wear a seat belt. Explorers may not drive department vehicles. They've not done that.